Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we want to create the actual checkout component and the checkout items inside. So when talking about our checkout component, let's take a look at what the final component should look like. Really what we're doing is we're creating some specific kind of row that will show what the value of each column of these checkout items will be. So coming back here, let's start setting that up. We know we have our top level div. And following typical fashion of these top-level containers, we're going to call this our checkout container. Inside, we know we need a div that will hold the header itself. So the header being those different values that we are adding at the row level. So I want to call this our class name of checkout header. Inside of this header, I want to have these different divs that represent the different blocks. So if you think about these are kind of like each of these individual duplicated sections. I'm going to call these, let's say something like header block. It's pretty clear what these are. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this 5 times because we have 5 different blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now inside of the first one, we need a span that will say product. Then what we need for each subsequent one is going to be what they are. We have a description. We have, well, let's put description first. So we have description, and then the next one, we have quantity. And then after that, we have our price. And then finally, we have remove for our X button, which we haven't made yet. So here, I'm going to get rid of all this other stuff. And underneath what we're doing is really we are showing the different items. So I can either put this in a div, or I'm actually just going to get rid of this div now. I don't need it anymore. And what I also want to do is display a total. So here, I'm just going to put a span. And inside of the span, I'm just going to say total is equal to 0 for now. We'll figure out how to add the total later. And I'm going to give this a class name of total. So what we need to do now is really just add in the style sheet that will allow this code to work. So once again, inside of checkout styles, just paste in your style sheet from your resources folder. And now once we've pasted this in, let's go back to our application and let's see how we're looking. So far, we've got our header. Of course, our total isn't in the right place, but we'll figure this out later. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to set up the actual checkout items. So really the checkout items are what's going to replace this temporary item that we've created here. So let's go back into our components. And let's make a new checkout item. Whoops, I misspelled that. Checkout item. And then let's set up our files. Checkout item.styles.scss. And then checkout item.component.jsx. Now for the actual checkout item, what we need to do is we need to import in our style sheet. And then, of course, finish scaffolding out our checkout item component. And then export default checkout item. Now, inside, what do we know we get for the checkout item? What we're going to get is essentially a cart item. And off the cart item, we need all of the fields. So let's destructure off the name, the image URL, the price, and the quantity. And then what we're going to do is return back a div that will contain all of these appropriate values. So I want to give this class name of checkout item container, and then a div that will contain the image. So here I'm going to make another class name, image container because I want to declare the boundaries of what this image is going to have. And here I'm going to say source goes to the image URL. And then the alt text, as we've done so far, is just going to be the name. And then after this, I want to make a couple spans. So I'm going to make 3 spans here. And then I'm going to also make a div because in the div is where I want to put the remove button. Now, for your remove button, you want to use a special character. And this character can actually be signified in HTML as ampersand hashtag 1005 semicolon. This in turn will now create for us that X button, but in a specific type of format and in quite a large size. As for these remaining spans, I want to make class name of name, class name of quantity. Here, this will be a class name of price. And then we need to respectively insert in the correct values. So here, I'm going to put a name. I'm going to put the quantity. And then I'm going to put the price. And then it's just a matter of bringing this into our checkout component and replacing all of this once we import it in. Checkout item component. And then let's render our item where the key is going to be our cart item.id, and cart item is going to be cart item. And then we don't need this destructuring anymore. And as a result, we can just explicitly one line return these values. Now, the last thing that we also need is the checkout item styles. So go into your resources folder, grab the style sheet, and then paste it in here as well. Now, once you've pasted this in, let's come back to our application. And here we go. We see that we have our components. Although this icon looks like to be incorrect. So let's actually take a double check into what that checkout item component has. It has ampersand hashtag 10005. I was missing an extra 0. And now if we come back here, there we go. This now looks correct. So our total is also looking a little weird here. So let's go into our checkout component. And here we see the class name has a capital T. That's another mistake of mine. And now, there we go. Accurate total. So now what we need to do is we need to attach the quantity arrows as well as build out this remove button. So the quantity button, that one is pretty easy. We can do that in the next video. But before you move on, I want to challenge you now to try and build out this remove feature. When you hit this, this should in turn remove this item from the cart. So this should be pretty intuitive because we've kind of done it already when we talked about our quantity equals 1 condition for our remove item from cart. So try and think about that and build that feature to remove the cart item. And then I'll see you in the next video.